Do you recognize this first clip? Let's kick things off with a quote from the protagonist and, yeah, the antagonist of this story. If we win, we live. If we lose, we die. If we don't fight, we can't win. That's what it means to be human. That's right, Eren Yeager, one of the best characters ever created, still dropping these little pearls of wisdom. Good evening, my friends. Ready for the first part of our weekly news segment, What's New with the News? So, have you got your kimonos and katanas ready? In the anime world, no huge names this time. We're trying to stay eclectic and please everyone. But here's our podium, a story with a little touch of Harry Potter, the classroom of a black cat and a witch, some children's folklore tales, with cats again, obviously, Ugoku, Neko Mukashi Banashi, and a redemption story sprinkled with a bit of philosophy, proudly stamped by A1 Pictures, a studio that's been on a winning streak lately, the Camphorwood Custodian. And for the fans of suspense, death games, and yes, maids, we've got playing death games to put food on the table. Honestly, the title explains itself. Over in Manga land, we've got a brand new story from a well-respected author who left his mark on the Gundam saga, Suzumebachi. Then there's the new series from the genius behind ODDTaxi, still one of the most original, funny, and surprisingly deep anime of recent years, Kami Kill. Oh, and of course we couldn't forget something in vertical format. Enter the Webtoon Manu's Daughters, from the always creative Il-sook Shin. And YouTube, what about you? Looks like the summer anime season is finally heating up. Except for One Piece, of course, which has been spoiling us with jaw-dropping moments for ages. What kind of trick does Vegapunk have up his sleeve this time? Grab your popcorn. You can start the video now.
Bang. 今まですごく普通で一緒に超えちゃいましょう。そう、普通だった。
Let's kick things off with something Beastars fans will love. Get your furry hearts ready. With you, our love will make it through premieres October 14th and promises interspecies romance with a side of prejudice, tenderness, and follicular lust. Mari, a student who literally bumps into a tardy beast man, discovers he's more than just a walking fur coat. Chico with Honeyworks is also back in action because nothing screams forbidden love like a song called Kusugutai. Yes, ticklish.
Yuki って言います。よろしく。
A mansion, death games, and maids? Count us in. Because working at Little is for amateurs, Yuki makes a living playing death games filled with traps straight out of a psychopath-run escape room. The new series, Playing Death Games to Put Food on the Table, premieres January 2026 and promises blood, maids, and a resume that would terrify any HR department. Kadokawa dropped an ultra teaser because regular teasers are for weaklings and confirmed Studio Dean is behind the animation. Vampire detectives, what's not to love? Grab your crucifixes and alibis. The Casebook of Arne lands in January 2026 with a vampire detective and a noblewoman obsessed with glamorous bloodsuckers. Together they solve bloody murder cases like it's a romantic CSI date. Silver Link is handling the animation, and the teaser already hints at mystery, drama, and an indecent amount of billowing capes. Since remakes are trendy, why not samurais and mechas? Get ready for the return of samurais in armor that cosplays as mechas. Yoroi Shin Den Samurai Troopers premieres January 2026, starring Guy and his mysterious teammates with more facial suspense than a Scooby-Doo episode. Set in Shinjuku, 5 boys battle a demon emperor with style and shiny metal. Sunrise is back at the wheel because nostalgia sells, especially when it comes with swords and dramatic yelling.
お母さん、お元気ですか？僕は死んだ仲間の勇姿を手紙にする功績係をしています。
An iconic battle from Japanese history turned into anime. Grab your tissues and sarcasm. Paleliu, Guernica of Paradise premieres December 5th and blends war, coral reefs, and mangaka dreams like an episode of MasterChef Battlefield Edition. Tamaru, the protagonist, tries to survive World War II carnage while dreaming of speech bubbles and panel layouts, because nothing screams artistic calling, like writing about your comrade's final breaths between bombs and dysentery.
その鬼と初めて会ったのは、満開の桜の木の下だった。
And of course, a light novel adaptation had to be here, because nothing says college life like being kidnapped by a god to pay off your grandfather's debts with cooking and literal self-sacrifice. Aoi returns in Kakuryou, Bed and Breakfast for Spirits. 2, premiering in October with more mystical recipes and forced engagements. Studio Gonzo teams up with Macaria to ensure even the ghosts are well-fed and emotionally nourished. Who needs Erasmus when you can cook for supernatural beings?
アニメ「ナイト・オブ・ザ・リビング・キャット」
映画28年後特別コラボ映像
Cats and Zombies, a collaboration that's unusual to say the least. Because the apocalypse just isn't what it used to be, Night of the Living Cat joins forces with the film 28 years later to create the most absurd crossover since someone mixed sharks with tornadoes. We officially enter the Nine-Apocalypse arc, where cute cats and British zombies compete for the title of most contagious threat. The feline virus spreads through cuddles, which is almost as dangerous as afternoon tea, with Ralph Fiennes surrounded by the undead.
ずっと諦めて生きてきました。
Three underdogs on today's podium. Bronze goes to a redemption story, because when life fires you unfairly, the obvious solution is to commit a crime and then accept a spiritual gardening job from an aunt you never knew existed. The Camphorwood Custodian premieres January 30th and promises drama, redemption, and lots of quiet reflection under a tree. Directed by Tomohiko Ito, this film is basically a Zen retreat with a criminal record.
鏡よ鏡、世界で一番可愛いのは誰じゃ？
猫です。
In second place, cats and children's folktales. Why not? Because children's stories clearly needed more fur and meows, Ugoku. Neko Mukashi Banashi premieres October 15th on YouTube and promises to rewrite classic tales with cats as the main characters. Directed by Kazumi Nonaka, this anime asks, what if Puss in Boots invaded every story on Earth? Get ready for an overdose of cuteness, feline sarcasm, and paw-delivered life lessons.
私は絶対魔術師になるんだから。
And the gold medal? Another cat, but this time with a witch. Classic. Because Hogwarts was full, Speak Virgo tries to get into another magic school, despite not being able to conjure even a tea-warming spell. Luckily, she meets Claude Sirius, a cursed magician in the form of a talking cat, who agrees to be her mentor, as long as she kisses him in a very unconventional spot. The Classroom of a Black Cat and a Witch premieres in 2026 and promises magic, weird pacts, and a feline anatomy lesson nobody asked for. Let's start with a digital shift, from magazine to app, because true love now comes in digital format. How I Met My Soulmate moves from Dessert Magazine to the Palsy app this October. The story follows Yuki Honda, a college student who trades the countryside for Tokyo, and meets a guy who clearly majored in How to Be Unbearable 101. The manga was nominated for Best Shoujo, took a baby break, literally, and now continues its romantic saga with more drama, more disastrous dates, and, fingers crossed, fewer terrible first impressions. And it's the digital world that brings us the first ending in this roundup, because cooking in a magical world is clearly more profitable than opening a restaurant in Shibuya. Isekai Ryuji, Shiko to Kyomu no Buzz recipe. Tabi wrapped up on August 17th. Inspired by chef and YouTuber Ryuji, the manga blends viral recipes with monsters and magic, proving that even in a parallel universe, the algorithm rules. Supervised by Ryuji himself, this culinary adventure ends with more flavor than most cooking reality shows. And when something ends, something else begins. Because saving someone from suicide is apparently the fastest way to ruin your own life, Suzumebachi, Hornet, premieres August 18th, starring a disillusioned student who swaps school boredom for full-throttle suspense. Masato Natsumoto, known for drawing heroic knights and fighters with unpronounceable names, dives into a thriller where karma has a twisted sense of humor. Expect drama, moral dilemmas, and probably a metaphorical sting, sharp enough to leave a mark. From Japan to Korea, the distance is short, but the drama is deep. Because 40 years of creative incubation deserve more than a polite clap, Il-sook Shin returns with Manu's Daughters, a webtoon where a mystical queen and her superpowered daughters decide divine drama is serious business. Published on Naver Webtoon, this epic is the purest version of a dream Shin had in the 80s. Yes, before many readers were even born. If Lineage was the MMORPG of the soul, this promises to be Game of Thrones, with more eyeliner and fewer dragons. If it's worthy of a Netflix adaptation, it's worthy of our attention, because nothing says end of summer like space monsters and questionable military decisions. The Pool by Gaiman Sakurai dives into its final chapter in Good Afternoon magazine. Launched in January 2024, this military sci-fi follows a squad that, instead of meeting cute aliens, runs into creatures that would make Predator request a transfer. Sakurai, who gave us Ajin, continues to prove that horror and existential dread are his favorite snacks. We wrap up with a fresh story from the mind behind ODDTaxi. If you haven't seen it, go fix that, because cutting hair can be an art or an existential metaphor. Kami Kill premieres August 21st in Young Jump, featuring two barber brothers waiting for their missing dad and a miracle to revive their dying shopping district. Kazuya Konomoto, the genius behind ODDTaxi, teams up with Ryo Yamasaki to turn scissors into narrative tools of suspense and humanity. If the title's a pun, the story promises a deep cut into routine, with or without dramatic bangs. To keep things consistent, let's wrap up with a quote from the protagonist of the story we just saw in that first clip. "I am justice. I protect the innocent and those who fear evil. I'm the one who will become the god of a new world." So tell me, if a notebook with the power to decide who lives and who dies just happened to fall into your lap, would you use it the same way Light Yagami did? And what about you guys? What did you enjoy the most? In the anime corner, we tried to highlight some lesser-known titles that might surprise you in a good way. This week's gold medal goes to a sorcerer trapped in the body of a cat who just won't stop annoying a witch. Speaking of cats, children's folklore tales are always a win for the little ones. And of course, a solid redemption story full of forgiveness, drama, and, believe it or not, gardening is perfect for those with a more zen vibe. We also had deadly games just to put food on the table. Yes, that's literally the title. And even a story with vampires who happen to be detectives. Compared to Sherlock Holmes, does that make Professor Moriarty a werewolf? On the manga side, we got 3 fresh stories. One by Masato Natsumoto, where bees take the place of giant mecha robots. Another by Kazuya Konomoto, who's ready to put his love for wordplay to the test with 2 brothers searching for their father. And finally, the latest webtoon by Il-sook Shin, featuring mystical queens and superpowered princesses. Oh, and for those into horror and existential dread, don't forget to read The Pool before it completely disappears. Now don't just smash the like button, give it a gentle tap, share the video with your friends and across your socials, and make the most of your Sunday. After all, you'll need to be ready for part 2 of our weekly roundup, dropping tomorrow night. Take care, everyone, and see you tomorrow.